All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to South Texas Magic. Today we are going to be reviewing an old favorite, or maybe an old hated, I'm not sure, depending on what side of the spectrum you're on, Kaalia the Vast. That's right. She is a human cleric, flying. Whenever Kaalia the Vast attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that opponent. Now, this has been reviewed plenty of times. However, the difference is that there are a few cards that have considerably changed the game of Kaalia that have come out in the last 3 months, and one that is about to come out. And that's what we're going to be talking about, guys. So stay tuned. You're going to enjoy it. All right, so to start us off, we're going to be talking about lands. Everything that I'm going to tell you is just my personal opinion, so please don't get in my comments and be freaking out and saying, oh my god, you're so wrong, it should be this way, that way, because honestly, Magic's a game, and a game that can be played many ways, and some would venture to say that it's the most complicated game in the world because it can be played so many ways. So you play your way, and I'm just throwing out some suggestions for you, okay? And with that being said, Badlands, Scrubland, Plateau. Everybody knows what these cards are. They're on the more expensive side. I'm not saying you should just have cash to go out and buy these right away. Took me a little bit of time to get these as well. But they're super important because they are multicolored and they don't come in tapped. You can also fetch for them with your fetch land, which is also very important whenever you need a specific color at a specific time. Blood Crypt, Sacred Foundry. Also super important because they can be fetched for because they are mountains, plains, and swamps. Very important to be able to get exactly what you need when you need it. Also, we're going to be talking about something in a little bit that actually has this pay to life come into play. But we'll get into that later. Cavern of Souls. When you're playing Kaalia, it's very important that she can't be countered because your whole deck is kind of synergized around her. Your big, beefy dragons, demons, and angels need to be able to be on the field. And if you can't pay the mana cost, you got to be able to cheat them out with Kaalia. But if somebody counters you, these a-hole blue players, right? Dumb blue players, don't come crying to me. I'm just playing. But I digress. If you get countered, well, then that kind of keeps your deck from being able to play the way that you built it, right? So we want to have Cavern of Souls so she can't be countered. Godless Shrine, Bloodstained Mire, Marsh Flats, Arid Mesa. Must-haves in your Kaalia deck. Hall the Bandit Lord. Pay 3 life, add 1 colorless mana to your pool. If the mana is spent on a creature spell, that creature has haste. Hey, Kaalia on turn 2. If you can do this and you can't do the Jewel Lotus, that little combo that we're going to talk about later, very important, especially if you can get it with a Cavern of Souls and Hall of the Bandit Lord. She can't be countered and she has haste as she comes out swinging. City of Brass, Ancient Tomb, more life loss. Actually is going to be a good thing later. Tomb of the Yawgmoth, Triome, Outpost, Vault of the Archangel. I like Vault of the Archangel because if I have big beefy dragons, demons, and angels, they have big time damage that they're dealing. 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 black, and creatures I control gain Death Touch and Lifelink. So it's a life gainer, and most of the time people aren't going to want to try to block you because they don't want to kill their own creatures. So it's a win-win. Command Tower, Reflecting Pool, and Mana Confluence. Add a mana of any color. That is so important because you need to have mana options. Sulfurous Springs, Battleforge, Concealed Courtyard, Inspiring Vantage, Dragon Skull Summit, Clifftop Retreat, Isolated Chapel, Spectator Seating, Vault of Champions, Luxury Suite, Silent Clearing, and last but not least, Caves of Koilos. These are all very important lands to have. I'm not going to bore you by sitting here talking about every single one, but they're all super important to have, and they will be in the description down below. Moving on, let's talk about instants. So if we have Kaalia on the battlefield, we need to be able to protect her because our deck is synergized around her. Teferi's protection is a must. Protection from everything. These two, if you have Kaalia out, which you obviously do because you're trying to protect her, you don't have to pay their mana cost because you have your commander out. Flawless Maneuver, creatures you control get indestructible until end of turn. And should somebody try to counter you or do something that targets Kaalia, Deflecting Swat, you may choose new targets for a target spell or ability. Send it right back at him or to the guy to your right or left that you don't like. Swords of Plowshares, exile the target, right? Blacksmith Skill, Kaalia gains hexproof and indestructible. How about Blinker Out? Cloud Shift is a great card because you exile target creature you control and then return the card to the battlefield under your control. If Kaalia has some type of enchantment on her, you can blink her off with this and it will remove the enchantment and she'll come back to the battlefield under your control and free to do whatever she wants without the enchantment on her anymore because you removed her into exile. Eerie Interlude. Exile any number of target creatures you control. Even if someone blows up all of your land, you don't need land to play creatures if you have Kaalia on the battlefield. She is your main thing to protect. So therefore, use Eerie Interlude, exile any number of target creatures you control, return those cards to the battlefield under your owner's control at the beginning of your next end step. Great card, cheap card. Ghostway, very similar. Remove each creature you control from the game, return those creatures to play under the owner's control at the end of turn. Blink them off. When that Armageddon and those cataclysms and all that happened to everyone else, these are super important. Path to Exile. And these are for those awesome blue players, Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. When they try to counter your spell, counter their counter. Awesome red counter. It might go in their favor, but the most important thing is that you counter their spell that's targeting Kaalia. Tibalt's Trickery. You got a Planeswalker that's causing you some trouble. Anguish Unmaking. Exile target non-land permanent. You lose 3 life. There's that loss of life thing. It's going to become important in a few minutes. Boros Charm. Everyone should have a Boros Charm if you're playing red or white. Absolutely. Deals 4 damage, permanent you control gain indestructible, Kaalia. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn, which is really great for some of your big beefy dragons and demons. Enlightened Tutor. Go in there and get your Jewel Lotus. Go get your Mana Crypt. Must have. And then you have a couple of Mana Reps, your Dark Ritual and your Cobble Ritual. Vampiric Tutor. Go get that card you want, but don't play Vampiric Tutor on your turn. Stop doing that. Play Vampiric Tutor on the guy's turn before you so that when it gets back around to you, the card's already there. Don't waste your Vampiric Tutor. Okay, guys? Well, let's talk about playing Kaalia fast. If you play Jewel Lotus and a Lotus Petal and a land, turn 1, Kaalia's out turn 1. She's got Summoning Sickness, but she's out turn 1. But super important if you can get that combo lined up. Worst case scenario, you get to play Kaalia turn 4, right? Just as long as you have land in your hand. But always have these 2 guys in your Kaalia deck if you can. Jewel Lotus is a little bit expensive, but definitely a must if you can work your way up to it. Sol Ring, a must-have for any deck. Mana Crypt. Does damage to you, however, this damage is going to come in handy later. Chrome Mox. I like it, but the only thing that you have to do is sacrifice not sacrifice, but you actually have to exile a non-artifact, non-land card from your hand. So if you have a handful of cards that you like, it's going to suck a little bit, but it's still a great card. Gives you mana, a 0 drop cost. Mox Amber. Add 1 mana of any color among legendary creatures or planeswalkers you control. That means you have to have the creatures down here in the legendary status. Your commander's over them in the command zone, it doesn't count. Still a great card. I would also recommend having Mox Opal in here and a Mox Diamond if you're rich enough to have one of those. I do not have one in here at this point in time. Mana Rocks, Talisman of Conviction, Hierarchy and Indulgence, Arcane Signet, all great artifacts that are a must in your Kaalia deck. And of course, let's protect Kaalia from being targeted and give her Haste and Shroud and Hexproof and Haste. Must-haves. Am I blazing through too fast? I'm trying not to go too slow. Imperial Seal. Pretty much another Vampiric Tutor, right? It's a great card to have. I love this one because it's the new foil etched one. I traded my non-foil etched one for it and just paid a little bit of the difference, but I love this card. It just looks so awesome. Armageddon. If Kaalia is on the battlefield, who cares about lands? I do a little bit, depending on what's in my hand. But if I've got nothing in my hand that's worth a damn, guess what? I'm going to blow up everyone's lands, and I'm just going to keep swinging beefy demons, dragons, and angels for free with Kaalia while everyone else has no mana to stop me. Ruinous Ultimatum. I keep all of my stuff, and they have nothing. Destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. All they got is land. Kill all their creatures, kill all their enchantments, kill all their artifacts, gone. Board wipe except for yourself. Cataclysm. I get to keep one of each, and including Kaalia on the battlefield swinging beefy demons, dragons, and angels, while I take everything from them but one, and more than likely your opponent is not going to have the ability to play anything to stop you for a couple of turns if you blow up all their lands but one. Wheel of Fortune, another card that's a little bit expensive but definitely a must. If you have no ability in your hand that's going to help you, and you're just really needing to get in that deck and find something, maybe the last-ditch effort to save yourself, maybe you need that Master of Cruelties in your hands. Wheel of Fortune, everybody draws 7 cards, and maybe it screws up their hand what they were planning to do to you as well. But I've had the reverse happen, and it actually helped them. So it's a catch-22. You can't save Kaalia. Someone's going to kill her anyway. So rather than put her in the command zone, if you have this card in your hand, I would rather put her in the graveyard and reanimate her. That way I don't have to pay the additional colorless mana cost. Demonic Tutor, search your library, get that card in your hand, grab that Master of Cruelties, right? Vandal Blast, someone's got an artifact screwing with you, get Vandal Blast. If you got 7 or more cards, oh, that's the other one. This one's an Overload. Overload it, 4 colorless, 1 red, and you get to destroy all target artifacts you don't control. Not just one. And a last-ditch effort of a Toxic Deluge, a creature board wipe. Even if it's your own, sometimes it must be done, especially if Kaalia is not on the battlefield. You got to have a Toxic Deluge. Kill everything. And a Faithless Looting. Gets you into your deck, right? Gets you closer to getting what you need, and also has a really cool flashback so you can play it from your graveyard. So it's kind of like having it times 2. Necropotence. You lose life. There's that life loss again, and I keep saying it. There's a reason. Stay tuned. Necropotence. It gets you in your deck, it skips your draw phase, but it gets you as many cards as you're willing to sacrifice life for. Very important. Phyrexian Reclamation. Now, I wouldn't put Kaalia in my graveyard if I didn't have this on the battlefield already, because if I try to put her in my graveyard and I try to play this against one of those a-hole blue players and they counter it, guess what? How am I going to get Kaalia out of my graveyard unless I pull a Reanimate? That could be a problem. And Phyrexian Arena. Lose 1 life and draw 1 card on my upkeep. There's that life loss again. And last but not least, let's get to creatures. Master of Cruelties, you knew he was coming. You've seen him before. Everyone knows what he does. He attacks with Kaalia and he gets cheated out because you're not declaring him an attacker. That's right. Read it and weep. He's not declared an attacker, y'all. So if y'all have had any debates, went over a Magic game, and sat there and yelled at each other across from the table, guess what? It goes through. He's not being declared an attacker, so when it says he can only attack alone, it doesn't count. He's not declared. He's cheated out with Kaalia. It goes through. Quit your crying. Magus of Moat. Creatures without flying can't attack. My deck's nothing but creatures except for Master of Cruelties and a couple of my wizards. Linvala, Keeper of Silence. Activated abilities of creatures your opponents control can't be activated. Sucks to suck. Avacyn. Screw off. Everything's indestructible. And she has Vigilance and Flying, so she can block while everyone's trying to screw with everything that's tapped. Aegis Angel. She enters the battlefield. Another target permanent is indestructible. Guess what? It's going to be Kaalia. Tired of people playing instants and taking your creatures out on your turn? Get Grand Abolisher. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts or creatures or enchantments. Screw off, everybody. Durannith Magistrate. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere but their hands. So guess what? If they don't have their commander out, he ain't coming out as long as Durannith is around, yo. Saphira Skyblade. You pay 1 white and tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying rather than pay this mana cost. I'm not really about doing that. I'm more about cheating her out with Kaalia because she has lifelink, and also, more importantly, other creatures you control with flying have indestructible. Once again, she's kind of a downgraded version of Avacyn, but they both function great. Mother of Ruins. She's a nice lady. She protects Kaalia all the time. Don't attack with Mother of Ruins. Stop attacking with Mother of Ruins. She's only there to protect your other creatures. If you attack with her and she gets blocked and killed, you're screwed. Stop attacking with Mother of Ruins. Razakath, I love him just because he has trample and he's an 8/8. He's big, he's beefy, he comes out for free. I included Merciless Angel a while back because for every opponent that life total is half of what they started out with, she gets a 3/3 and she gains indestructible. That's one beefy bitch. Aurelia the Warleader. Guess what? I attack once and I get another attack. And she has Vigilance and Haste. Gold Knight. Flying and First Strike. If a sorcerer would deal damage to an opponent, it deals double the damage to an opponent or a permanent the opponent controls. And if someone does damage to you, it does half the damage rounded up. Suck on that. Obelisk Nexus Unshackled. If you got those blue players that love searching their deck and love controlling you, this is a great card to have. 4/4 flying and trample, but whenever an opponent searches their library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. I love it. You die, I gain. Whenever another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on Obelisk Nexus Unshackled. He gets big and beefy pretty quick. Esper Sentinel. I love it because I get to draw an extra card. I love drawing extra cards. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. I never equip him with anything to boost him because I really don't care about it. I'm more about just drawing cards, right? And I'm not trying to make him a main feature of my deck. If this guy is out, whenever Master of Cruelties is out, Sower of Discord. You can kill 2 of your opponents at one time, but I would always suggest going after the opponent that is the weakest and can't defend himself. But if that's the case, remember my enemy is my friend. So don't be surprised if the other guy tries to stop you because you're going to kill both of them. But it is a must-have in Kaalia with Master of Cruelties. Terror of Peaks, a great dragon to have, kind of deals damage in a couple of different ways. I like him, I don't love him, but he's in there. Lord of the Void. I love this dude. Whenever Lord of the Void deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 7 cards of that player's library and put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield under your control. I love taking people's Ulamogs this way. I love it. It makes them so upset. And it gets me to mill the hell out of them. It's great. Archfiend of Despair. Sit back and watch your enemies cause themselves damage because your opponents can't gain life, and at the beginning of each step, each opponent loses life equal to that life that player lost this turn. It is awesome. Runescarred Demon. You want to search your library? When Runescarred Demon enters the battlefield, search your library for a card and put that card into your hand and shuffle your library. He's a 6/6 with flying. He's a great card, and you get to search. Now, we're coming up to the cards that have come out in the last year and a half that have really changed Kaalia and the way she functions. So one would be Ishin. 2 heavens is 1. You get to put out 2 dragons, demons, or angels with this guy on the battlefield whenever Kaalia attacks. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers twice. Kaalia. Twice on the trigger. 1 attack, twice on the trigger. Great card. Ancient Copper Dragon. You need this card if you like mana. Whenever Ancient Copper Dragon deals combat damage to a player, roll a 20-sided die. You create a number of treasure tokens equal to the result. Now remember, your treasure tokens can be erased. They're not mana immediately. You have to sacrifice them for them to become mana. So don't be upset if somebody starts killing off your treasure tokens because they don't want you to have mana. But it is definitely a card that needs to be in your deck because if you just have Kaalia out and you want to swing big at somebody, you have 20 mana and you can put out a couple more angels, demons, and dragons out and then swing with her and put out another one for free. That's the way to go. Fast, hard. And it's going to be just like a Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. That's Kaalia. Sarah's Emissary. I mean, come on. A 7/7 flyer. As she enters the battlefield, choose a card type. I'm going to choose creatures, because that's the majority of what's going to be screwing with me. You and your creatures have protection from that chosen type. That means you can't lose life from a creature, and they can't kill your creatures. It's amazing, and it's not even an expensive card. Why it's not in every deck, I don't know. And here's what I want to talk about. Villa's Broker of Blood. It's a great card because it gets you into your deck. He's an 8/8 flyer demon. Whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Now, I'm going to put a card on the screen, and it's the card that's coming out in the new Dominaria United. It's a Phyrexian. She is a broken beast. If you read it, she'll say, whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. When your opponents draw a card, they lose 2 life. We've talked a lot over this video about losing life from land, losing life from Phyrexian Arena and other enchantments, losing life from creatures, losing life. There's a lot of life loss in here to be had, but it's life loss that's necessary, such as your land. If Villa's Broker of Blood is out, and that new Phyrexian is out, guess what? Any loss of life causes you to draw a card because of Villa's. When you draw a card, you gain 2 life because of the new Phyrexian. So every time you lose life, you're actually gaining that much life, not losing it. This new Phyrexian is going to change the game, and Villa's is going to be second, in my opinion, to Kaalia to protect if he's on the battlefield with that Phyrexian. They are going to truly change how this game works with Kaalia. And I know y'all have seen a bunch of Kaalia videos before, but it's changing. It's getting more awesome. She's becoming more deadly, more powerful, and faster. It's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to see it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I try not to make it too long. If I offended any blue players, quit your crying. And if anybody else has any comments that they want to say, I'm welcome to them. And if you guys got some suggestions for decks, definitely post them in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. And don't be a douche. Be nice. All right, guys. Have a good day.